Santa Cruz, California. It's chaos at the local convenience store.
Get out of here! Get out of the car and get out of here!
Cops mobilize for a terrifying showdown with an armed madman. An hour earlier, he had stolen a car at gunpoint and led police on a wild chase. Now he walks around the gas pumps, pistol in hand, threatening everyone in sight.
Guys, coming your way!
One spark from a bullet could ignite the entire station. At one point, the irrational man calmly fills his car with gasoline. The officers stay on guard. When he finishes, he struts in front of them, waving his gun and smiling tauntingly. He actually seems to be enjoying this. Finally, the police unleash a canine unit. The man shoots wildly. And the cops are forced to open fire. Police officers use lethal force only as a last resort. But when an armed psychopath with nothing to lose starts shooting, he leaves officers with no choice. Camden County, Georgia. When a driver prays during a routine traffic stop, the cops have to wonder what's going on.
The officer had a real big suspicion that something wasn't right, and that's why he called us to back him up.
A canine unit is called in to search for drugs. The driver's buddy is sitting in the passenger seat, nervously watching as the dog heads right for him. The deputies wait for a positive response. And that's it. The dog smells drugs.
Watch yourself, Jake.
The canine officer runs the test again just to be sure. Another positive hit. They now have probable cause to search the car.
Damn.
But he's not so cooperative.
Hey, 1080!
When he hops into the driver's seat, this passenger becomes a fugitive.
You could look into his eyes and tell he had other plans. He wasn't going to stick around.
1080!
Deputy Fred Sutton fires 3 shots into the tire, but the suspect peels out anyway.
Get out of the way! Get in the back!
The officers have no time to be gentle. They wrestle the original driver in the back of the cruiser and the chase is on.
Go get him, Jason! Go get him! Greg, be advised, he's got a load of cocaine.
But the officers notice the suspect throwing something out the window.
He's throwing drugs out of the vehicle. Halfway during the chase, I ran over some of it. I seen it when I ran it over, and it just like a cloud of dust. And
moments later, the suspect pulls over.
Put that dog on him, Jason.
Now that he's gotten rid of the drugs, why shouldn't he turn himself in?
Get out of the car!
The smug suspect figures he's only facing traffic charges now. Wrong.
When he threw it out, it went back against the car, and there was white powder all along the side of the car. Tested positive for cocaine, and we're picking pieces of cocaine out of the cracks of the interstate for about an hour.
Hands up!
These cocky criminals thought they could beat the rap and put one over on the Camden County cops.
1080!
But they didn't have a prayer.
Get out of the way! Get.
Cops on the street feel the rush and fight the crush, because if it's booming, banging, or bashing, the cops are there.
On traffic stops, cops learn to expect the unexpected. While you see what you think is a drunk driver, it might be illness, it might be a mechanical problem, but going into it, you've got to expect the worst.
Milan, Ohio. Highway Patrol Officer K.P. Fleming responds to a report of a driver smashing into another vehicle. He finds the suspect's blue truck weaving down the turnpike at 95 miles an hour. He must be stopped, and stopped now. But before Fleming can take action, the driver does something unbelievable. He broadsides a 40-ton truck. Then, incredibly, he sideswipes the semi again. Officer Fleming has seen drunk drivers before, but he's never seen anything like this. It's as if the drivers deliberately picked a fight with the biggest and most powerful vehicle on the road. Retreating from its war with the big rig, the pickup now bears the scars of battle. A hubcap goes flying like a bullet shot from a gun. Rubber begins to peel off as the tire disintegrates. Tire gone. The suspect speeds along on the steel rim, showing no signs of stopping.
Can you confirm that it is a single white male?
Trooper Fleming would expect a drunk to give up at this point, but this driver keeps going.
Unit 16, we have loaded backup.
He seems oblivious to the destruction he's caused to the highway and his own vehicle. With his truck falling to pieces beneath him, he slams into another semi one more time. Finally, the pickup crawls to a stop. Trooper Fleming rushes the vehicle, leaving nothing to chance.
Put him up! Put him up now!
Fleming finds the driver frightened and confused and realizes the man is suffering from Alzheimer's disease. He had driven off alone, and his frantic family was searching for him everywhere. Fleming took him to a hospital, where he was reunited with them. Miraculously, no one was hurt by the man's wild ride. Seoul, South Korea. Thousands of students demand political change. Police demand order. Now both forces are locked in a violent struggle, with neither side about to give in to the other. Ill-equipped students exchange books for sticks and homemade firebombs. But the students have numbers on their side. Riot police are forced to withdraw and regroup. Angry protesters hurl firebombs at retreating police. Riot police call in assault vehicles. They launch hundreds of rounds of tear gas. It seems to work. The large mob starts to disperse. But just blocks away, another group mounts a charge. A handful of police get separated from the group. Sensing their desperation, students close in from both sides, pelting them with rocks and bottles. Police manage to rescue their comrades, but the rioting goes on. What students lack in modern weaponry, they make up for in sheer determination. But police are equally determined, and order is finally restored. But keeping order will be difficult. This riot wasn't South Korea's first, and it probably won't be its last.
Law enforcement receives information from a variety of sources. They especially like it when criminals turn on their own. It's true, there is no honor among thieves, and that can prove to be a huge asset for the police.
Copenhagen, Denmark. A TV cameraman gets tipped off about a prison break. He arrives at the scene, camera rolling. What happens next is incredible. A 10-ton bulldozer emerges from the rubble, along with a flood of escaping convicts. The bulldozer has knocked out an entire wall of the prison. Before police can plug the leak, 13 dangerous prisoners have escaped. Caught off guard, the officers fan out and conduct a door-to-door search. The anonymous tip came just in time to help police shut off escape routes. It's not long before all 13 convicts are back in their cells. Here we are in Tampa, Florida. A local TV station receives a tip that an armed bank robbery is about to occur. The station alerts the police. A SWAT team clears the bank and locks the main entrance. Now they wait for the robbers to arrive. When the armed suspects try the front door, they find it locked. They have no idea that authorities have been tipped off. Then a police van pulls up. The police set off flash grenades to disorient the gunman. The suspects respond with gunfire as they try to run, but they're surrounded. Moments later, 2 of the 3 suspects wisely drop their weapons. The third gives up only after he's been wounded. Thanks to a hot tip, this robbery was doomed to fail before it began. All the gunman came away with was a trip to the courthouse. Police never know where their next tip will come from, but they're always ready to turn a hot tip into a quick arrest.
How you doing?
Tell the ambulance to come in.
Some crooks run like crazy.
He's got a gun!
Some stand their ground.
It ain't worth it!
Some come right at you, head to head. But they all have one thing in common. They never thought it would end like this.
Tracking suspects by helicopter has become increasingly common around the world. Officers on the ground can only see what's in front of them. But in the air, the police can see it all.
Brisbane, Australia. A dangerous mental patient escapes from a psychiatric ward. Within hours, he has stolen a car. Now he leads Brisbane police on a reckless high-speed chase. A police helicopter follows his every move.
Pursuit is at 80 kilometers now. All motor units exercise caution.
Without his medication, his behavior becomes increasingly psychotic.
All drivers be aware, this suspect has a previous incident of history of violent behavior. Extreme caution is necessary.
At a crowded intersection, the suspect slows down. Police think they have him, but the demented driver punches his way through, clipping one police car and weaving around another vehicle. The way this escaped patient is driving, he'll be back in the hospital in no time. Through the emergency room. More officers join the pursuit, but the suspect jumps from street to street, at times going in complete circles. Police get their chance when the suspect's way is blocked by traffic. On his right, a cement barrier boxes him in. But this lunatic isn't going to let a divider stop him. He drives clear over it and into oncoming traffic.
Suspect is on the wrong side of the road. Wrong side of the road. He's still going now.
Police can't let this madness continue. By now, even the pedestrians have had enough. One man runs to the car and tries to grab him. But the patient just hits the gas and barrels back over another divider. Approaching heavy traffic, he gives the officer behind him a chance to box him in. The officer moves up fast.
I think I have him now. They have him.
But he's half a second and a half a foot too late. The suspect sees the trap and speeds through just in time. Then the cops get a break. A bus driver up ahead sees the close call in his rearview mirror and realizes he's in a position to get it right. Timing his move perfectly, the driver cuts over hard. The smaller vehicle is no match for the massive bus. Within seconds, Brisbane police are closing in. But the suspect's door is open in a flash.
Suspect is fleeing on foot, fleeing on foot. Officers are now in pursuit on foot.
The man is fast, too fast for his own good. Racing through a hedge, he loses his step and stumbles down a hill. Within seconds, he's tackled from all sides. The mental patient is returned to the psychiatric ward without a scratch. His stolen vehicle didn't do as well. But a total car is a small price to pay for getting a violent mental patient off the street. Amazingly, no one was injured in this frantic chase down under, thanks to the determination of Aussie police and the bold maneuver of a Brisbane bus driver. This crazy pursuit is over. Drunk driving. In the blink of an eye, lives are shattered. If you're lucky enough to survive such a tragedy, the lingering effects can be devastating, both physically and emotionally. A passenger in a crash like this one was left paralyzed from the waist down. The driver was drunk. After years of mounting resentment at the man who was driving, the passenger is snapped. Packing 2 semi-automatic pistols, the man goes looking for the friend who was driving that night. But he's nowhere to be found. The man wants revenge now. In a bizarre twist, he goes after the person who sold his friend the car.
Roger that. I see a man down near the driveway. Over.
Moments ago, he rang the car salesman's doorbell. When the salesman answered, he was shot in the stomach. Now the shooter circles the street like a madman, holding police and paramedics at bay. If the salesman doesn't get help soon, he will bleed to death. But the suspect won't let anyone near him. Neighbors look on, stunned. The victim's dog barks at the shooter, trying helplessly to protect his fallen master. At this point, paramedics are also helpless. It's a critical moment for the police. To save a life, they may have to take a life. But this is no ordinary standoff. The suspect allows a negotiator to approach. The man's life depends on his ability to gain the shooter's confidence. It works. Paramedics move in to retrieve the victim, his dog still doing its best to protect him. He's rushed to a waiting ambulance. But the shooter still has a gun, and now he's angry. He feels tricked and warns police to back off. A SWAT team is called in to bring this standoff to a close. The suspect sees them and grows even more disturbed. He issues a clear warning.
Shots fired. Repeat. Shots fired.
State to copy. Shots fired.
Negotiations seem on the brink of collapse. The suspect fires off another round. Negotiators make a last-ditch effort to end the standoff peacefully. Finally, the man has a brief moment of sanity. For the first time in 3 hours, the suspect agrees to holster his weapon. And moments later, it's all over. Thanks to expert negotiators, more bloodshed is avoided. Clearly disturbed, the suspect is taken for psychiatric evaluation. The car salesman survived his wounds. But for this victim of drunk driving, it's obvious that some wounds will never heal.